A man returns home with the news of his wife giving birth to their first child, a son. Though elated, he hides his excitement. The moment he holds the boy, he senses an overwhelming magical power within the baby, far beyond anything he had imagined. Not only does the child possess incredible strength, but his compatibility with their family's secret arts is exceptional. The man reflects that despite his son's potential, the path ahead will be filled with challenges. He names the child Apyuto, hoping he will grow up to honor his convictions and stay true to himself. Several years later, Apyuto, now a young boy, is shown sparring in a sword battle with one of his family's guards, while another guard cheers him on. Apyuto is no ordinary child. He was reincarnated into this world after dying in another, and even as a baby, he retained every memory from his previous life. Now, he is known as Apyuto Arc, a member of the most powerful noble family in the kingdom and the future heir set to take over from his father. When he first regained consciousness as an infant, he found himself in a strange, unfamiliar place. Upon hearing his father call his name for the first time, he felt a deep connection to this new world. He soon realized that the world he had been reborn into was from a book he had once read, a popular fantasy novel in his previous life titled Tales of the Lanana Country. At that moment, he realized he had reincarnated as a character from the book widely known as Apyuto Arc, also infamously referred to as the Black Villain. This character was responsible for plunging many citizens of the Lanana Kingdom into despair. His greatest concern, however, was that in the story, the character he had become was destined to be killed by the protagonist, Hitsuji Aruto. The reason for his defeat was simple: he had no allies. Despite possessing the power to confront the kingdom's problems, some of the lower-ranked nobles sided with the protagonist. As the situation deteriorated, more and more nobles were drawn to the protagonist, leaving Apyuto isolated when the final confrontation occurred. This lack of support sealed his fate, leading to his inevitable defeat. After reincarnating, Apyuto understood that if the story continued to unfold as it originally did, he would be killed by the protagonist, which was an outcome he was determined to avoid at all costs. He realizes there are two options to avoid his gruesome fate. The first is to befriend the hero, and the second is to overcome the hero as a villain. Apyuto dismisses the first option, knowing how much he despises the protagonist. Since he was born a villain, he decides to remain one, as the original story intended. The only difference this time is that he won't lose. He understands that his first step is to eliminate all uncertainties before the original plot begins, and make thorough preparations to become the embodiment of absolute evil. Just as Apyuto resolves to crush the protagonist by gathering trustworthy allies, he charges at one of his guards, pointing his sword at the guard's throat, forcing the guard to surrender and ending their sparring session. The other guards who had been watching rush over and shower him with praise. Apyuto immediately casts a stern gaze at them, and the guards shiver in fear. He remembers that the troubling part of his absolute evil skill is that the cost of gaining power is to be hated. In other words, as his strength increases, so does the likelihood of being despised by others. Still, he notes that thanks to this skill, he has become much stronger. Realizing his harsh reaction, he apologizes to the guards, who quickly reassure him that it's no problem, since they are his loyal servants. The guard Apyuto was sparring with praises him for his swordsmanship, admitting that he was completely overpowered in the end. Apyuto feels satisfied with the magical skills he has learned so far and his ability to combine them. He can heal others' wounds with pure medical techniques, use overwhelming force to activate lower-level barrier spells, and has now mastered close combat with a sword. Additionally, he possesses the growth-enhancing ability called Absolute Evil. Apyuto notes that he is highly versatile in combat, almost like a self-sufficient, overpowered character. He believes he is on the right path, and before the main events of the story begin, he must gather allies and establish his position. Another guard arrives at the training ground and informs him that his father, Viren Arc, is calling for him. Soon after, he is seen discussing with his father. Viren mentions that he has been receiving reports about Apyuto's studies and training, and he praises him for doing well. as expected from the future head of the family. However, Viren also warns him not to neglect his personal growth and to continue honing his skills. As Aparuto listens, he recalls that his father's ultimate ambition is to make their family the most powerful in the kingdom. At first, he saw his father as a frightening figure, but over time, he realized that his father was a calculated and methodical villain. Aparuto thanks his father for his kind words and promises to continue striving for success. Deep down, he feels a small sense of happiness from his father's praise. Viren then shifts the conversation, stating that they should move past the pleasantries and get to the real reason for the meeting. He announces that a grand celebration is being organized for Prince Michael's 10th birthday, hosted by the royal family. This time, many nobles around Aparuto's age will be attending. Viren emphasizes that Aparuto must make sure to attend the event as well. Aparuto recalls that in the original story, Prince Michael eventually sided with the protagonist. Viren interrupts his thoughts, remarking that while he doesn't want to say it, Aparuto is often misunderstood because of his abilities. He instructs him to remain quiet during the upcoming party. Aparuto acknowledges his father's instructions and asks for permission to be excused so he can resume his training if the discussion is finally over. After Aparuto leaves, Viren chuckles in amusement, noting that he never expected him to meet his gaze without being intimidated by his overwhelming presence. Viren's assistant then reports that Aparuto's level has surpassed 40 at this stage, and he may reach even greater heights as he matures. By the time he takes over Viren's position, he could become one of the strongest villains in the kingdom. The assistant suggests that if Aparuto uses his power to crush the influence of rival families and force them into submission, there should be no issue. Viren smiles, recalling that it was the same during his time. The other families obeyed him, though he had no popularity. But Viren knows that this is the way of the Ark family. He adds